Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host, Alamdar Khan. And as you all know, this is a program that actually provides you information, in-depth analysis about sports from all across the globe. Well, anyways, what we'll do is if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. Besides that, there's a lot of things happening with regards to all sorts of sports these days, specifically the COVID situation that has seriously taken all across the world with regards to the sportsmen out there. So now we'll surely go out to the headlines to begin the show. And the BCCI writes to Cricket Australia asking for quarantine relaxation if they want to host the fourth test in Brisbane. And yes, we'll be talking about the Big Bash League that is happening and it's still on. And yes, I would want to talk about the FA Cup. Yes, Liverpool expects Aston Villa's FA Cup clash to go ahead despite the COVID-19 outbreak. And from the world of Formula One, McLaren F1 driver Lando Norris tests positive for coronavirus. All right, so yes, we were talking about Australia versus India. Yes, that's the third test that's underway, and not to forget, before the test started, it was technically very difficult for the Indian team because of few breaches that actually took place because of the COVID situation back in the city. But anyways, the test is currently underway, and with regards to that, we'll definitely be talking more about it. And we have a guest with us all the way from the UK. Sir, thank you for joining us, Dr. Asad. How are you doing?
Not bad at all. How are you, sir?
Oh, good to hear from you, sir. So yes, we'll be talking more about cricket to begin with because one of the tests that's underway is Australia versus India. And as we know that, Will Pucovski also showed up this time with a lot of concussions, but even then he has recovered and survived and managed to score like 62 runs. And overall target, if we currently look at, it's 338, which India is chasing. So we all know the situation of Australia-India struggle is still on. There has been ups and downs and variations with regards to corona restrictions. But if we actually embed that to the idea of the recent tour of Pakistan and New Zealand, so which was really a heartbreak for all the viewers out there. And, I would definitely want your perspective to come underway to, kind of make it clear to us that, where do we always go wrong as a team? Even though if we see Australia versus India, currently, India is also under the same threat and same pressure for the fact that they're also playing that match on their soil and following the protocols of COVID and, still managing to take care of those short balls, short deliveries and, trying to ensure that, they win the test even though they've had a hiccup last time when it came to 36 all out. But even then, they're like making a comeback right now. So where did we go wrong? That's like one of the things that we definitely want to highlight and want you to put up your knowledge to it.
I personally don't think that we went wrong.
Right.
Jamieson, the New Zealand, the Kiwi bowler who's taken 11 wickets against Pakistan.
Right.
I can promise you that if you let him bowl on the pitches of Faisalabad or Lahore or Karachi,
right,
I can't see him picking up one test wicket in our country. So the conditions in Pakistan are so different from New Zealand. We both know that.
Right.
Cricket is becoming very, very unilateral nowadays. Home team advantage is becoming way too high. Right. In the old days, what Pakistan team used to do was, if we went to, say, tour England or if we went to tour New Zealand or Australia, we'll go a good 2-3 months in advance. We would go and play a lot of practice matches, get used to the conditions.
Right.
So there is some sort of an even contest going on.
Right.
That seems to be going out of cricket now because there is so much cricket being played that our lads didn't get the chance to practice as much in those particular conditions. So the conditions were very favorable for New Zealand, for their bowlers.
Absolutely.
They were not favorable conditions for someone like Mohammad Abbas or Naseem Shah, but they were very let me tell you one thing. On paper, Pakistan is still a better test cricket team than New Zealand.
On paper, yeah.
In a neutral condition, Pakistan will give them a very good game.
Right.
Unfortunately, in the New Zealand condition, India lost the test series there last time around. We lost the series this time around as well. So New Zealand conditions are very difficult to deal with if you're not used to them.
Right. But I still agree. But if we realistically look at it, the point is we still need to establish ourselves as a team that actually has the courage to face those short balls. The shorter deliveries are specifically one of the things that, we as a team have not been able to take care or really blend ourselves into it. So, like you said, that there's on paper with regards to that, you'd still suggest that Pakistan may be one of the best test cricket team. But yet again, us being professionals, Pakistan cricket team is our professional cricket team. So when we see the trickle-down effect, obviously a lot of people here and everywhere all across the globe, for those who are supporting Pakistan, have that emotional bond attached to the performance of the team. And we still think that there is still a lot of changes that are needed to be done to ensure that at least the top order plays as a top order.
No, I just on a very technical note, Pakistan didn't do very bad against the short ball. Let's be very honest.
Right.
If you see the first test, fifth day, Fawad Alam and Rizwan played short ball all day without getting into too much trouble with that. I think the trouble was that in the second test match,
right,
even when Jamieson with his height was pitching the ball further up,
right,
the ball was bouncing a lot. So
right,
it's not really a short ball, it's a ball that's getting an extra bounce on top of
right,
what a ball should bounce like.
Right.
Now, I give you one scenario, and then you tell me how you feel about it. If we play the same series in same conditions in New Zealand,
right,
but Kane Williamson is injured and Babar Azam is playing,
right,
now who do you think is favorite to win the series? So you also have to understand that their best player
right,
had the series of his lifetime, and our best player was out injured. He couldn't even play a game. So New Zealand had a lot of advantages prior to this series. I must say.
I absolutely agree. It's definitely not that. But for instance, let's talk about even Australia-India match that's underway. In between, India had a situation in which a big hiccup came, 36 all out. Everybody was like, oh, in the history of over a decade, it has never, or even a century, it has never happened. But yet again, for them making a comeback, for instance, right now, even though that it's the 45th over, they're 2 down, but they're still on it. They're like, so the point is that they probably planned something up, strategized things, because the conditions in India or our part of the world is different, definitely, with regards to the conditions in New Zealand or Australia. So can we always keep this in mind? I totally agree to the fact that Babar Azam was missing. So missing more like the backbone of the team, that does affect. But do you still think, specifically when it comes to let's start with the batting order, because for me, as I personally see it, we always think, and Pakistan always believes, that our bowlers are our key competency. But how do you see our batting lineup?
So just to clarify this situation as well,
right,
in Australia, because India has always had a better batting lineup, we've always had a better bowling lineup. That's like a historical thing in the two countries.
Right.
In Australia, India with their better batting lineup become compatible, or they compete. Pakistan's problem is Pakistan's best ever bowlers, Wasim Akram, Waqar Yunus, Shoaib Akhtar, Amir, Asif, none of them have performed very well. Our bowling averages in Australia are absolutely shambles.
Right.
And the reason for that is that the way the Australian pitches are and the kind of disciplined bowling that you need there,
right,
the maverick style of Pakistani bowling doesn't work there.
Right.
As far as our top order is concerned, I think Imam didn't play, so
right,
very hard to comment on the top order.
Right.
I think Abid got a few starts, and
right,
if Abid had more experience of the New Zealand conditions, he might have got a big score.
Right.
I think Rizwan and Fawad proved themselves. They both played very, very well.
Right.
I think in the second test, Azhar played very well. He played a very sensible, senior, matured knock.
Right.
I still feel that if Pakistan had an extra 6 weeks of preparation before the first test,
right,
which is next to impossible in these COVID regulations and everything,
true,
and Babar Azam was fit, I think this would have been a totally different ball game altogether. And we also missed Yasir Shah with injury in the second test, so things just didn't go according to plan for Pakistan.
I agree, but one thing that I'd still want to suggest, if you've seen the recent performance by Shan Masood, it's been a very trickle-down effect from his end, not even averaging now slightly above 30. But we were still expecting him to perform. And if we look at the stats, so I think he has like 4 ducks in the past few matches.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So it's kind of heartbreaking for us as a nation to see that we are providing this, because how it truly works as a team. Because obviously you've been there, you know how it works. Besides your journalism stuff, you've been with the PCB, you know how things work. What I'm trying to portray and see that for instance, let's talk about emerging talents. Like if you've heard about Kamran Ghulam, He's like slammed
Yeah,
a
Kamran
fifth.
Ghulam, I've heard a lot about him.
Yeah, so he's like, he just slammed his fifth century in the season for Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, and he's like broken the record of Sadat Ali's most run, which was established back in 1983 and 84. And currently he has like 1,245 run in this season. So why don't these Class A, I mean, this kid is from Upper Dir. He's like a young lad, and we're definitely sure that, if he gets the chance of coming up and proving himself as maybe the next key player, because, like you said, Babar Azam was missing. But we can't totally rely on just one person. I understand he's like the backbone of the team. But having people like Shan Masood, don't you think these emerging talents like Kamran Ghulam should be given an opportunity to come perform on the world-class level?
I mean, the only fear with Pakistan cricket team always is that, in the past we've had so many good talents like Ali Naqvi and Mohammad Waseem, and so many people come in and then they get a chance or two in very difficult conditions. So if you ever tour to South Africa or Australia, you take a young man there, he can't perform there, and then he's gone forever. First thing first up, I think Shan Masood is just going through a very rough patch of form.
Absolutely.
Now, how do we handle this as a cricket team is a different matter. Do we keep letting him play test matches, or we send him back to the first class and ask him to regain some form and come back? But I see Shan Masood to play a very big part in Pakistan's cricket's future. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you are going to nurture Kamran Ghulam, he has to be a part of the team. He has to get acquainted with the dressing room, how the other guys are, and then slowly bring him in and give him his chance, like India is doing with that Prithvi guy and then Shubman Gill. When the youngsters come up, you need to give them a lot of time to settle in and then start slowly and then be patient with them so that they could, just put in.
So what we'll do is we'll just take a quick break. We'll just take a quick break. Dr. Azad, we'll just take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll continue this conversation with regards to how can the emerging talents be a part of the world-class cricket. See you guys after the break. And welcome back to the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, we were talking Dr. Aschad with regards to the cricket situation of Pakistan versus New Zealand tour, and also discussing Australia versus India's third test. So coming to Australia versus India's third test, which is underway, the BCCI actually, which is the Board of Control of Cricket in India, wrote a letter to Cricket Australia asking them for the relaxation of quarantine mode for the next test match, which is going to be the fourth test match. They said our team needs to be having that the relaxation bubble, so that they can have meals together and they're not in isolation. So, Dr. Saab, we would like to know more about the idea. How do you see this? Because of the fact, I totally understand it's technically very hard for cricketers traveling away from their home, away from their comfort zone. Obviously, they're professionals, they want to do this. I mean, the breaches did happen. But how do you see this letter written to Cricket Australia for the relaxation part?
I think it's absolutely appalling on the behalf of Board of Cricket Control of India and also the English Cricket Board.
Right.
There doesn't seem to have been a lot of planning with regards to COVID when these tours were arranged.
Right.
Just to give you an example, Sri Lanka was in South Africa.
Right.
England went to play Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka with Moeen Ali and Chris Wokes, as you would know, are COVID positive.
Right.
Now, Sri Lanka has a law that anybody who comes into the country has to quarantine for 14 days.
Right.
If the Sri Lankan team finishes the South African tour and then quarantines for 14 days, no game can be played with England. In a similar way, these kind of things, BCCI should have sorted it out with Cricket Australia in the beginning of the tour.
Right.
That's a very typical BCCI kind of they always tend to do that.
Right.
When their team doesn't seem to be winning the games in Australia, they start distracting their own public and their fans and everybody else with other political issues, which takes the pressure off their players to try and get them back into a frame of mind to perform well. So in a way, it's a very mind games kind of a situation. But I don't think Cricket Australia is going to entertain that, because the COVID rules in Australia are very, very strict at the moment.
Right. And it's not only that, if you truly look at it, even though when it came to our players going to New Zealand, they also had a very serious quarantine situation and, the COVID situation. Initially, obviously, there were a few breaches that actually came out, and then they decided that, they will not even practice, which obviously I sometimes do believe that, us not performing really well there did have a lot of reasons because of the COVID situation. But anyways, I hope this situation sorts out for them. But like you said, that BCCI always likes to, put the blame game on the other situation rather than on their team, which I totally agree on. And, how about we talk about the COVID situation? and the situation in the UK with regards to football. So with regards to football, let's maybe just talk about the FA Cup right now. The Liverpool still expects to play Aston Villa's FA Cup despite the COVID-19 outbreak. How do you see this? Do you seriously think, because as far as I remember, I just went through the news with regards to English Premier League the day before yesterday, where Boris Johnson also decided to keep that Tier 5 lockdown. So how do you see this current plan of action to work for Liverpool and, playing against Aston Villa? Do you think this match would really happen?
This match will happen.
All right.
The reason for that is not because Liverpool wants to play. The reason for that is because Aston Villa wants to play.
Right.
Aston Villa has got 4 Premier League games in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
They're already 2 games behind from the rest of the league. They just simply cannot afford another day to play this tie against Liverpool.
Right.
Now the situation is getting to a stage that Aston Villa might not be able to field their first team in the next 4 Premier Leagues, and their whole season might be destroyed.
Okay.
If 3 or 4 other teams do get into like similar kind of situation,
Right.
the whole season can be declared null and void because of COVID. So we don't know how it's all going to pan out and end up. But at the moment, it's given Jurgen Klopp, in the Liverpool manager, a massive boost, because he now doesn't need to field his main players in the game, because he knows he's facing Aston Villa's second string side. So he can give starts to people like Curtis Jones and Shaqiri and all those, Reece Williams and all those people. He doesn't really need to play Salah, Mane, Firmino and his big guns, and he can rest them a lot.
Right, right.
So advantage Liverpool, and Liverpool will play today and they will win today.
So basically what you're really saying that, besides the whole COVID situation in the UK, we'll still be hoping to have this match on board. What if the situation, because like I said, I went through because there was an outbreak in Fulham as well, which was why, it was told that, 4 games were postponed. Not only that, if we look into the boxing side, a few days back, the whole season, the big matches that were supposed to happen also got postponed. So don't you think they'll have to follow some regulation with regards to the COVID situation?
Well, the COVID situation regulations are being followed in English Premier League to the T. I mean, these guys are getting £150 worth of a test twice a day, every day for every player.
Right.
So that's a lot of effort being put in. But the problem is, you can't defeat the virus. If you've got the virus, you've got the virus. There's nothing else you can do about it.
Right.
One player gets it in the training, everybody gets it. Aston Villa is really struggling at the moment. The only thing we're waiting for is if 4 or 5 different English Premier League clubs get into the same situation, I think the league will just have to be cancelled.
Because
the season will be declared null and void.
It's going to be,
and that's where we seem to be heading at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. It with regards to sports everywhere, you hear about people getting infected, teams getting affected, and the outbreak. Obviously, the second outbreak with regards to COVID-19 is really on top right now, and everybody is looking forward to have their matches on, but it's technically becoming very difficult. Not only this, I just even heard about the current news of the McLaren F1 driver who actually was tested positive for coronavirus, and Lando Norris, I'm talking about, who actually scored 97 points in the last season, and who came 9th. So, but the 21-year-old is also stuck in Dubai now and quarantining. So even besides with quarantining part,
no, but I can tell you, I can totally tell you that Australian Grand Prix is not going to happen. The first race of the season is not going ahead.
Oh, all right. So this is an information.
There is no way with this COVID situation that the first Australian Grand Prix is going to happen this season.
Right.
That's cancelled.
What about okay, if you think that's cancelled, what do you think about obviously the tennis championship that's planned for February as well?
So tennis might go ahead, but the first race in Australia, the Formula One race, that's as good as cancelled, because I do work for at times for Ferrari's Formula One team as a doctor. So I can totally tell you that as if be it a breaking news, Australian Grand Prix will not go ahead.
Okay.
And you can tell how bad the situation with COVID is, that because your director got in touch with me yesterday with regards to this conversation.
Right.
I don't know whether you can tell or not, I'm sitting in a friend's car with his dog in the background, and I'm wearing my hospital scrubs.
Right.
Because
yeah,
I'm still in the emergency department. There's like 1,200 people died in England yesterday just with COVID. So the rules are going to get stricter and stricter, and we cannot promise that English Premier League will finish the season this season.
Right. So it's basically coming out to the entire situation of, I think the only country, I think majorly with regards to COVID regulation, like you said, For now, how I see it, Australia is still like doing their best. New Zealand is trying to do their best. Even if you talk about the Big Bash that's underway, so there's a lot of series
Yeah.
and things happening, and they're absolutely on the go with regards to that, which is kind of nice. But what will be the future of the sporting activities and events that actually should have been lined up? Because we see like all news that comes in underway with regards to sports is like the COVID situation got cricket cancelled, COVID situation got this cancelled. So from boxing to cricket to football to, so I think it's going to be a very tricky year this year, 21. And let's hope the COVID situation
Yeah.
manages to.
I mean, at the moment, the discussion in Tokyo is whether the Olympics needs to be cancelled fully, completely.
Right.
So that can give you an idea of how bad it's getting. But let's hope that the vaccine works and we can get back to the elite sports, because it's really important to a lot of people. But if any of your listeners of yours are fans of Liverpool, from tonight's perspective, Liverpool is going to win that match really easily, maybe by a margin of 4 or 5 goals.
Yes, exactly. But Liverpool will be without obviously their midfielder, right? Naby Keita.
No, Keita hasn't really played for Liverpool a lot. He gets injured a lot. He's not cut out for the Premier League.
Right.
And Liverpool are better off getting rid of him. But they do have people like Alcantara, and in front of him, they can have Minamino. They can play one of Salah, Mane, or Firmino.
Right.
So there's a fantastic squad Liverpool is. It's not like the when you look at other teams, such as, say, take the example of Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid lost to a third division team in the cup.
Right.
Because Atletico Madrid's bench strength is not very good. And I can see Real Madrid and Barcelona overtaking throughout the length of season and competing for La Liga. I can't see anybody other than Manchester City. And it pains me to say that because I'm a massive Arsenal fan. But I can't see anybody other than Manchester City challenging Liverpool.
Right. Okay, that's informative. So, but your point of view right
Yeah.
now is Liverpool is easily going to win this match, right?
Yeah, today's match with Aston Villa's B team and their manager absent and all of their staff absent.
Right.
Last year, similar thing happened to Liverpool when they went to play the World Club Championship. They had to field a similar team and they lost 5-0. I think now it's going to be the opposite of that. And tonight, Liverpool is going to win 5.
Yes, because from what I have the stats, Aston Villa actually have lost 6 of their last 7 games, if I'm not wrong, of FA Cup, right, against Liverpool.
Yeah, no, but then there's a huge difference if Aston Villa's first team is playing.
Right.
If you're expecting Pakistan to play against Australia, that's one thing.
Right.
If you're expecting Wabda 11 to play against Australia, that's a totally different thing.
Right.
altogether.
Right. Now I get
Aston
you.
Villa has absolutely no chance tonight.
Right. Right. All right. That's an interesting approach towards the whole situation. But anyways, I hope it all goes well. But anyways, sir, thank you so very much for being a part of the show. It was really great to have you, Dr. Ajad. Wish you the best, and I hope you
so
take
much
care
for
with regards to
giving
the
me the
snow. And till then, we'll definitely catch you again. But anyways, guys, the entire show basically revolved around the cricket side, to obviously Australia versus India, to Pakistan versus New Zealand, from the letter from BCCI to Cricket Australia asking for the quarantine relaxations. All these things will be happening off and on, and the Big Bash is still underway. We're hoping to hear from that as well. And besides that, obviously, we talked about football. And with regards to football, we also talked about the upcoming Aston Villa. As discussed with Dr. Ashad, that, it's going to be an interesting match. But we're still hopeful with regards to that, Liverpool will definitely be winning that match. And anyways, the last news, as I mentioned before, the McLaren F1 driver Lando Norris has tested positive. So I wish and pray for the sportsmen all out there around the world the very best. Thank you very much for having us and watching the show. You can definitely reach out to us on our social media handle at the rate of Indus News Sports. Till then, take good care of yourself. All the best and bye-bye.